Hi everybody and welcome back at Azure Lowlands 2023. In the next panel we're going to talk about the safer digital future. We have some amazing guests on the sofa, but we also have a special guest as my co-host today of the panel. It's Microsoft MVP and RD, Maarten Goed, who has a long track record on security topics. He's a true expert in this field. So welcome Maarten, maybe you quickly want to introduce yourself before we head over to our lovely guests.
Yeah, welcome for having me at this all-star lineup. We've got a great audience as well, which is really nice. We're really live. So I'm Maarten. I'm a Microsoft MVP and RD since probably, well, as long as John has been almost, it feels, but for a couple of years, and specialize in security. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Then let's see who's sitting on the sofa today.
So, hello everyone. My name's Sarah Young. I'm a senior cloud security advocate at Microsoft. I've done a couple of other roles, and no, it's really cool to be here because I've come a long way from Australia, so hello.
Okay, I'm John Craddock. Really pleased to be here. I'm identity and security architect, and I've been working in this space for a long time. I sort of started off in the identity space pre-Windows Server 2000 and AD. So I became an AD specialist on-prem, and yeah, I've worked with Federation since, goodness, I'm not going to confess.
Awesome. Hi everyone, this is Shruti Elani. I am a technical security specialist at Microsoft, servicing different industries in the Netherlands, been across geography, lived in different parts of the world. And I must say that I follow my co-panelists for a long time, so it's been an honor to be here on the same couch as them.
Yeah, wonderful. It is an all-star lineup, that's for sure. John, you just said you've been working with identity for a long time, even pre-2000s when Active Directory came about, securing it and how to manage it. But this morning in your keynote, Sarah, you were also talking about identity and that it's still like an attack vector and something that we need to secure. So we're almost like 25 years in. Have we not learned? Do we need to do the same thing all over again? What's happening in the identity landscape?
Well, I think the thing is, Maarten, is that we still don't get it right. Identity has always been an attack vector. Obviously, the underlying technology has changed a bit, but obviously getting hold of someone's identities and using their permissions is a really nice way into someone's environment. So, and we're always playing catch up with attackers, right? You know this. We develop a new technology, someone finds a way to abuse it, we think of some security controls. So identity is still really important, and we're getting better. I mean, we've now got some of the really horrible, tedious things we had to do in identity. So, you know, we say principle of least privilege, you know, that's been around since forever. It used to be really hard, though. I remember I used to work at a bank, and we would print off people's permissions and have to go through them manually. I mean, it just took days. No one does it regularly, and now we have nice automated tools in AAD where you can do that really quickly. So we still need to do the same things, and they're getting easier, but it's hard to get the basics right. And that everything we know about security proves that, and why we still have problems.
Right, and so we're 25 years in, we still need to do identity, but things are changing and get more automated. On the other hand, we still see a lot of on-prem, John. And what needs to be done there? What's the thing with on-prem at this point?
Well, I mean, the problem is with on-prem, it's a perfect attack vector on the cloud. And what we need to make sure is that, I mean, I've always spoken about, you know, people who've used ADFS on-prem. I used to say, you've absolutely got to protect your ADFS infrastructure, otherwise you lose the ability to authenticate in the cloud. I mean, this is trying to get rid of ADFS, of course. But it then became, the story was not about protecting your ADFS infrastructure, protecting your AD. I have seen so many ADs flattened completely. And what you've got to do is make sure absolutely that you can still operate in the cloud. And it's about isolation. It's about not having your AD people coming into the cloud as administrators, because, you know, they get hacked on-prem, you've lost the cloud. And it's keeping that level of isolation. And thank goodness we've got rid of ADFS. Well, we haven't, but we're getting that way.
So let's head over to Shruti. So you work as a senior security specialist, right, at Microsoft. Could you tell us a bit more, like how does your day-to-day look like being in that role, and how is it, for example, different from Sarah, who's a security advocate?
Absolutely, great question, and I must say that it's awesome being where I am. I've also seen multiple other roles at Microsoft very, very closely. For the time being, I would say I love where I am. To give you more details, a technical specialist role is all about getting your hands dirty with the demo environments. In that specific area, for me, it's security, so playing around with all those security solutions. And also presenting it in a way to the customers that suits their business needs, because not one size fits all. So our customers typically tell us, oh, hey, yeah, you're going to tell us the most secure laptop in the world is the one wrapped in concrete. Well, that's not true. We are there to cater to their business needs, but at the same time make them more secure. So we try to cater to customers with a very tailored solution that works for them in a pre-commit stage. You like it, you take it, you don't like it, let's work towards betterment of our solutions and take those feedback back to the product group. So that's the essence of a technical security specialist's day-to-day work. If you look at my calendar, the external meetings would probably be with the customers, with the product group, sitting in Israel, sitting out of Redmond. And you also asked me how my role is a bit different from Sarah's role. So the core of my role is about making an impact by taking Microsoft security solutions to the customer and getting the feedback back to the product group, and in between getting my hands dirty. What I'm here for today at Azure Lowlands is to generate more awareness, maybe get more interest, maybe to be challenged by my audience and see where we stand when it comes to other solutions also in the market. And Sarah, would you like to also elaborate on your role a tad bit?
Sure. So actually, funnily enough, I did used to do a similar role back in the day. But an advocate is, we work with the community. And of course, the community includes customers, but I wouldn't be going and doing demos and stuff. I actually create stuff more for the community, things that can then be reused by our MVPs and anybody really, and spend a lot of time coming and talking to people, try and listen to the voice of the community that aren't necessarily heard through other channels in Microsoft land, because Microsoft's a big organization and we have a lot of customers, but we don't always get to listen to everybody all at the same time. So we try and go and find those communities and advocate to them, but also on behalf of them back into Microsoft. So my role before I took this role was at the product group in Redmond. So I also for better or worse, I know a lot of people in engineering up in Redmond, so when I get a question or get feedback, I can nudge people directly, which gonna say they may not love me for that sometimes, but
so you know the right people. Yeah, and you mentioned this morning also in your keynote, and you said it now, you have to fix the basics. So what is a tip you would give somebody who is looking into security and who's just starting? What are the basics? Where should they begin?
Yeah, so I mean, basics really are basic. It's the same things we've been talking about, and I think this is why we get it wrong, is because we've literally not been saying anything different for years. It's, you make sure your things are up to date, make sure everyone has the least permissions they need to do their job, etc., etc. And I think that because we've been sort of talking about this and giving this advice for such a long time, a lot of people subconsciously think, oh, we've done that because we've been talking about that for ages, that must be fine. But in fact, for a lot of organizations, it's not fine, but they don't realize that. And just go and review your basics. Also, there are tools you can do this with now, because basics, although we call them basics, they're actually sometimes quite hard to do and maintain. And also, it's not a one-time thing. A lot of places, we're getting better, but a lot of, traditionally, a lot of people would be like, security, we're just going to do it this one time, and now we're secure, great. Except environments change, technology changes, we find new vulnerabilities. Security, you don't just do it and it's done. It's an ongoing constant process, which I think there's a better understanding of that, but we're still not 100% there. So yeah, we're all going to be in jobs. We're all going to have jobs because security, we can't make it 100% ever. We just have to keep going. And I think when you get your head around that idea, that it's just a gradual thing, you know, we will keep going, keep improving. I don't know, it's better. You can't just fix it. There is no fix.
Yeah, you need to chew at it every day, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah. But like you said, fixing the basics, it can be hard, and it is hard. Talking about things that are basics, like we talked about identity on-prem. John, will there ever be a point where we're not going to have AD and we're just all Azure AD or Entra, or what's your viewpoint on this?
Well, I also already know a number of customers who do not have on-prem AD at all, and they've started in that way. So a startup, if you were a startup now today, I would say go for the cloud. Don't have an on-prem AD. So the challenge is retiring on-prem AD. But as Sarah said, there's so many amazing tools now to help you assess your security. I mean, this whole thing of least privilege, well, you can go a step further. You can not only be least privileged, you can have no privileges, but you're entitled to them. So you can use privileged identity management. And then there's some really cool tools around access reviews. So we can actually review what your entitlements are in the environment. So, but it's the real challenge is people. You know, security would be easier if there are no people involved. But,
that is very true.
So it's actually putting those processes in place, but also understanding the technology. I mean, I specialize a lot with customers who are looking for, I always think that the core role of any identity system is authenticating people to applications. Right, but it's not only just authenticating those applications, making sure they have the correct access and all the rest of it. And a lot of the time I'm working with OAuth 2 and OpenID Connect, and there's a lot of mistakes made around there. Huge number, a lot of holes. So the ability to actually get a complete insight on what's going on is really powerful. Well, so you asked me a question, will AD be around? I think it'll be around for a while, but you know, it's time. The authority was not on-prem. We moved the authority into the cloud, and then AD is just sort of, well, we need it for certain things on premises, but
Mike?
who's authoritative? Boom.
Mike?
Yeah.
Don't forget the mic.
Oh, don't forget the mic, sorry. Yeah, so yes, I think it'll be around, but I think it will change.
All right, yeah, those are great viewpoints. And talking about all of this infrastructure, I think you have a session today as well, Shruti, here on Azure Lowlands, and you touched on it, Sarah, is data security.
Yeah.
Like, do we even need infrastructure security if we're just going to protect the data? Shouldn't we just focus on the data altogether?
It's multifold, so to say. So, I mean, I'm going to act like a typical consultant and say it depends.
Well, thank you for this insight.
So, data security, and of course, we are in the business of coining new terms, changing our product names, changing our team names every now and then. So, data security today actually means different things to different people. If you talk to a typical Microsoftie, you would know that our compliance teams internally have been called data security guys now. So data security, in essence, is only about data, and infrastructure on the other side caters to the security of your networks, your VMs, your servers, the entire backbone. So I would say it's just different nomenclature, but if you think about the components underneath, then you need to secure each and every component. You can't do away by saying, hey, yeah, I'm only going to secure the heart of the data. So talking about the session that we're going to have today, it's about DevOps security. So it's not, you're not done the moment you secure only your code. You need to strengthen other things around it. So definitely infrastructure security is here to stay.
And talking about the secure coding practices and whatnot, like there's a lot going on in that world. Microsoft acquired GitHub 5 years ago, and lots of security capabilities around GitHub and Azure in general. What should we do to become secure coders?
Well, isn't that the million-dollar question? So there's so many bits to this. It's because essentially it is developers who build code, but traditionally, particularly in waterfall ways of working, and I even had a meme on this in my presentation, you know, devs will be like, well, why do I need to do the securing if you're just going to do a pen test at the end? That'll fix it. And I still hear that today. But of course, we've changed the way we work. We're using DevOps. We're shifting left. We're making little incremental changes all the time. And security cannot constantly check in full every incremental change because you would literally never do anything. And so there's two bits to this. In fact, the technical bit is more easy. We have some great developer tooling. Microsoft's making more. As you said, we have GitHub and GitHub Advanced Security. We've recently released Defender for DevOps and Defender for APIs. It's in preview. Go look at it. We want your feedback. Yes. And we actually do, though. And we're getting all this developer tooling, and it's way nicer than it used to be. Developer tooling used to be really clunky, whereas now it's nice. So, you know, if you haven't looked at developer tooling recently, security tooling, you should do. But then we've got the people side of things. And this, I think, is exactly as you were saying, John, super interesting because we have two things. So essentially, for a long time, security people would be like, we don't trust anybody. We're going to check all your work before it goes into prod. Because that was the traditional security mindset. And now, essentially, security is saying, well, with DevOps, we're basically saying, we're going to let it go a bit and trust you to do the right thing. But that's a massive mindset change. And so it's like developers need to step up and kind of take a bit more responsibility for security. And security needs to let it go a little bit. But that sort of psychological shift, and I'm not a psychologist at all, I want to point this out, not at all.
Oh, I thought we're here on the sofa to express our feelings about security. And
I'm telling you, for someone who allegedly does a technical job, I spend a lot of time talking about people's feelings, like a lot of time, like more time than I probably should. But so there's this thing that security need to basically go and trust other bits of IT, which is not what we have done in the past at all. In fact, we have actively not trusted anybody. And devs need to start, it's not that, and developers and other parts of IT need to do more security. And it's not that they can't do it. I want to stress this, because there are some parts of security traditionally that have been like, oh, devs, they can't do it, they don't understand. That's rubbish. They absolutely can, but they just didn't have to think about it. It just wasn't forefront of mind. So there's two big shifts, and I think the tech side, obviously go play with the tooling, like get good at it, but that mindset and process shift is the thing that's harder for people. And I still think, I know, cheesy, I'll give you a nice cheesy consultant phrase, it's a journey. It's a journey.
Well, talking about cheesy phrases, you touched upon Copilot, and we can't have a panel in 2023 and not talk about AI. We need to have said AI Copilot at least once. So, John, AI is going to solve everything, isn't it?
Well, yes, AI will answer absolutely everything. It's interesting. I mean, I started looking at AI for, could I troubleshoot with AI? And I was doing some troubleshooting, and again, it was around protocols for authentication. And I found AI became my friendly buddy to help me. It was almost like, you know, working with someone, and I was putting information into ChatGPT, and it was coming back with stuff, and I thought, that's not right. And it's like working with a buddy, you know. People have their own opinions, and ChatGPT definitely had its own opinion. And I then thought, well, actually, but I found it a really useful process. So I think used the right way, I think today, yes, we can really use it. I don't believe all the hype around it. I tried developing some code with AI, and it came back and it gave me a function call, and I went back to it and said, I don't think that function call exists. And it said, oh no, you're right. It's this one. And then, you know, gave me another function call, and I tried that, and again, I didn't think it existed. And I went back and said, oh no, it's been superseded. And I said, can you give me a reference, please, to the old thing? And it came back and said, yes, here you are. A URL popped up. It came back with a 404 when I tried the URL. And, and the next thing is, it gave up and said, it said, you're right.
You're on
And
your
so
own now.
well, it didn't actually say I made it up, but it did actually terminate the conversation with me because I got a bit sort of, I backed it into a corner. But no, I think AI, yes, I think it has a huge place. Today, I would use it as a tool, right? In the future, you know, you look at sort of some secure code, it could go through the code completely and tell you whether it was secure or not. And I think there's going to be a huge shift, but it hasn't come just yet.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite there. I say to people, I treat AI, ChatGPT, whatever, as like my intern. I'm like, go do this, but I'm going to check it all. And
Yeah, it's still at the assistant stage, so to say. Yeah.
it's your intern. You need to check all its work.
No, I took it as a buddy.
You're nicer than me.
Yeah.
And your view on it, Shruti?
I would completely agree to what John said. I would say it's a journey. It's not quite there yet, but there are, if you follow the right YouTube channel, some people have already started doing it. So they're using Copilot in amazing ways. They are trying to use ChatGPT in amazing ways in the security arena, wherein they are trying to link it to Sentinel. They're trying to automate tasks following an incident. So there is a lot of automation that is possible today if you're using these tools in the right way, but there is a lot to come. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
All right, thank you. Well, we are soon approaching the end of this panel. I mean, time flies fast, and of course, we have amazing topics to talk about. Maybe you can quickly, maybe Sarah, you can tell us. So you were saying also this morning in your keynote how like people would not listen to security. Like, you have to do this, and they wouldn't. Like, what's a tip that you can give companies to like ensure that other departments work closer with security teams?
Yeah, that's a good question, Izzy. Now, it's a
Bribe them with Tim Tams?
bribe them, yes, that works. Look, we're IT folks, and there's a stereotype that IT folks aren't the best at interpersonal communications in general. But I think I say this to everyone: security is a function of an organization. It is not the be-all and end-all. If security is stopping an organization achieving its business goals, whether that's making money or whatever it is, your security function is not doing what it should be doing. Security is not supposed to stop business. So security should always be, no, you can't do it that way. Let me show you how to do it. Or let me show you how to do what you want to do in a secure fashion. Because even if security, just saying no doesn't do anything. And even then, you're not going to be 100% secure even if you say no. And I think we're getting there, that the mindset shift is changing. But for security teams that aren't, that are being enabled to just say no and be unhelpful, like that change needs to come from the top. Because unless it does, security teams that have traditionally just gone, thou shalt not do blah, will keep doing that. And I would encourage anyone who is in security, we have done damage to our relationship with the rest of the IT org. Go make friends with them, give them biscuits,
Tim
whatever
Tams.
it is. Tim Tams.
Solution to everything. Speaking of, how did you get through airport security with like a suitcase full of
Yeah.
chocolate?
I came, no one minds, it turns out, but I did get some very strange looks. I got strange looks when I was buying them all in the supermarket because they were like, I did this at like 7 in the morning. Don't ask me where I was in the supermarket that early buying Tim Tams, but I got some very strange looks because it was very empty and the woman's like, have you just come to the supermarket to buy like 15 packs of Tim Tams and milk? And I was like, yeah, pretty much, like... Don't judge me, it's fine, it's for other people, it's abroad.
Well, thank you so much. And John and Shruti, also thank you so much for being here. It was great to talk to you about the future, of course. And Marta, thanks for being our special guest.
Thank you.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. So anybody in the stream, thank you so much for watching this panel. Make sure you go to azurelowlands.nl to check out the agenda, because we are going to be back later today with more panels coming up. So see you later.